Students, let me introduce myself. I am M.V.SIVAKUMAR, Associate Professor of English, ANNAMALAI University, ANNAMALAI Nagar. This is an introduction for your third semester paper, Women Writing. This paper has 5 units, and the details of the 5 units let us see. The first unit dealt with women's writing, that is feminism, how feminism is begin, what is feminism, definition for feminism, and the historical development of feminism, and the 4 major trends of feminism. And the second unit comprises of the critical essays of some famous feminist critics, beginning with the 20th century writer Virginia Woolf. Her book, A Room of One's Own. From that book, 2 chapters are taken. Chapter number 2 and chapter number 3 are taken as the first essay for that. The second essay, that comprises of Elaine Showalter's Towards Feminist Poetics, and the third chapter is the third essay is Kate Millet's Theory of Sexual Politics, and the fourth one is John Goody's Sue Brighthead and the New Women, and fifth one is Nina Bayham's Mad Woman and Her Language. So, by knowing or by understanding these critical canons, the first 2 units, first 2 units dealt with the development of feminism, and the second unit dealt with some of the critical canons of feminism. If you are thorough with these 2 units, you can apply these principles of feminism or ideas of feminism to the writings. And the chapter 3, unit 3, unit 4, unit 5. Unit 3 comprises of poetry, unit 4 comprises of drama, unit 5 dealt with fiction or novel. So, just we are going to apply what so far we know about feminism and all these ideas to the 3 different genres of English literature. So, that is the purpose of this course. And let us go to unit 1. So, unit 1, here we dealt with what is feminism. Feminism is not a single idea, so it is multiple in meaning. Here, even though it begins with liberation of women, so even though feminism, women represent the 50% of humanity, for the past thousands of years, they are not treated as equals, they are treated as others. They are not treated as the equal or the part of humanity, but they are treated as the others. They were marginalized, they were not even treated as a living thing, they are treated as assets or as not even an entity. So, unit 1 deals with feminism and feminist literary criticism. What is the definition of feminism, historical overview of feminism, and major themes in feminist criticism. What is feminism? The answer is not a single idea, it is plurality in meaning. Even though it begins with feminism starts with the liberation of women, equality for women. So, even though women is part of humanity, 50% of humanity, they are treated as others, they are not even treated as living things, they are treated as an asset, as an entity, not even an entity. So, here for the past 2 centuries alone, even in the Western society, so women got the right to vote, exercise their franchise, and even how this started. So, it started with the idea that how we can double the income of the United States. So, we can double the income of the United States by allowing women to work. So, in this way it started, and later we find that they achieve liberation, fight for liberation, and at last they got some amount of liberation. Emancipation of women is there, and its feminism dealt with how women suffer in the society, how they are marginalized, how they fight for freedom, fight for equality, and slowly they are getting it. In the past 2 centuries we got all these things. So, the first thing is how the feminism or women's liberation started and how it emerges. The second one is the historical overview of feminism. So, here according to Elaine Showalter, the development of feminism started, she divides this feminism into 3 phases. The first one, feminine, it started from 1840 to 1880, and the second one, feminist, from 1880 to 1920, and the third phase is female phase. So, there are the 3 phases according to Elaine Showalter's idea of the development of feminism. So, in the first phase, the feminine phase, there are women writers like George Eliot, Jane Austen, and Bronte sisters, who simply followed the ideas of the patriarchal society. As there are men writers, there are writers from women also, who simply imitated or followed the ideas of the patriarchal society. So, here this spirit, even the Gurian in his 6th edition, he gives it as this phase of imitation. The feminine phase is called the phase of imitation. They simply imitated the ideas propounded by the patriarchal society. The second phase, that is feminist phase, where they find to fight for freedom, revolution, the spirit of revolution is there. It is called a revolutionary phase, where we find there are writers, they fight for equality, they fight for freedom, they fight for treating them as equal to men. And then the spirit of this age, this phase is a phase of revolution. So, the third phase which was given by Elaine Showalter, that is called the female phase. Here we find they want to establish their identity. So, here they want to show the world in what way women's writing differ from men. It is a phase of showing their individuality. Here we find even though men and women are part and parcel of this humanity, so women's way of thinking and men's way of thinking, how the brain functioning of these two differs. So, here they want to prove it. They want to show in what way our literature, the two, in literature, men's contribution in literature differ from men. They want to show their individuality, and here we find that women's way of thinking, way of narration, way of selecting words, similes, metaphors, themes, in all these things they want to show their individuality, and that is why the third phase that starts from 1920 onwards, that dealt with the phase of showing their individuality or proving their individuality. But in the recent edition of Gurian, we find the fourth wave of feminism, he divides this, Alain Showalter divides this development of feminism into three phases, that is feminine, feminist and female phase. But Gurin in his later 6th edition, he divides the development of feminism into four waves of feminism. The first wave, he says it is the first wave reflects the feeling of imitation. The second wave reflects the feeling of revolution or fighting against it, the fighting spirit. The third wave of feminism that shows the proving their individuality, and he added the fourth wave. It starts by 2011 onwards, and here the fourth wave is, so far women just passively accepted or passively resistant, showing the resistance on the sexual harassment that was made on by men on them. Now there is an awareness among women to fight against the sexual harassment that was done on women. So from 2011 onwards, the fourth wave of feminism started, and here we find how women, they are brave enough to come forward in the society, open society, without bothering the criticism of the society. They fight against sexual harassment that was made on women. So for the best example for this is the Me Too movement, METOO, Me Too movement that was there from 2011 onwards. So let us and let us go to the second part of that unit, that is historical. That is a historical overview is over, and major themes or trends in feminism. So here, what are the major trends in feminism? There are four major trends. The first one is gender studies. The second one is Marxian feminism. Third one is psychoanalytic feminism, and fourth one is minority feminism. First one dealt with the gender studies. So here some of these feminist critics, they want to show the world in what way women differ from men in the way of choice of words, similes, metaphors, narrative techniques and themes and all these things, and that is dealt with the gender studies. And the second one, Marxian feminism, where we find that Marxian ideas, that is the patriarchal society is considered as the capitalistic one, and women are considered as the laborers. In a capitalistic society, how the laborers are exploited both physically and economically, like that. How women are exploited both physically and economically, that was dealt with Marxian feminism. And the third one, psychoanalytic feminism, where we try to apply the ideas of psychology, the famous psychologist Sigmund Freud and G.S. Jung, Carl Gustav Jung. The first aspect, the development of human being from childhood to adulthood. There are so many ideas that was given by Sigmund Freud, and that application of these ideas and mythical reinterpreting the myth, how the myths can be reinterpreted. Once upon a time, these myth, how the myth of Eve can be reinterpreted. So that was done by Kate Millett. So reinterpreting myth is also one of the aspects of feminist criticism. So that was dealt with psychoanalytic feminism. And let us go to the fourth one. That fourth one is minority feminism. So here the minority feminism, who are the topmost feminist critics or black critics, because the black women are doubly marginalized. So here the racial discrimination, gender discrimination is there. They suffered a lot, and that's why their reaction will also be radical. So they try to overthrow men from their world. So what is their idea is, in order to share their own life with another men, why don't I suffer my life with another suffering woman. So in this way, so we have the gay literature or feminism, lesbian criticism and all these things. So they are very radical. Because they suffered a lot, and it is also an emotional reaction from them. And these are the 4 major trends. Okay, let me begin with Unit 2. Unit 2 comprises of the essays of 5 writers. First one, Virginia Woolf, From A Room of One's Own is the title of the book. From that 2 chapters are prescribed, and here room has a special meaning. So there are different rooms in the house. So according to Virginia Woolf, we aspire for a great house or a bungalow like that, but at least what we at last what we get is only one room. So that room suggests the meaning that the financial independence. That's what she also got from her aunt. Like that, the financial independence is the first thing that we got, and we aspire for other freedom also. It dealt with various freedom, personal freedom, so like that. And the second one dealt with towards feminist poetics. So where we have the historical development of this feminism, how this feminism is developed and all these things. And she divides here into the 3 phases: feminine, feminist and female phase. And the third one, John Goody, Sue Brighthead and the New Women. So here what we find that the bride is a character, one of the characters in the novel of Thomas Hardy, Jude the Obscure. Here Jude's companion is bride, and even in the creation of that and that novel, at that time there is what we considered as new women. What are the characteristic features of new women that we find today in the 20th century that we are find in the character of that bride? So that was discussed by John Goody. And the third one, Kate Millet's Theory of Sexual Politics. It's her PhD thesis, Kate Millet's PhD thesis. One chapter from the thesis was prescribed for us. The second chapter is prescribed for us. And the Theory of Sexual Politics, here politics means power structure relationship. And even what she says, she analyzes the status of women in all fields. She takes nearly 10 fields, and where she try to prove that women is not inferior to men, and enough opportunity, enough food, enough time is given, women can also fight equally with men. So here what she says, so here the society is slowly giving importance to freedom to women also. At the same time, wherever there is power, that is politics, research and development, judiciary, police, and these are the fields wherever we find that men is reluctant of giving equal importance to women. We can find so many nurses, doctors, teachers, but it is very rare to find women leaders who occupy the great positions in politics, and also research and development, and also judiciary. Very less women judges are there, very less police TAGs and DSPs are there. So here what she says, women is not less than or inferior to men if enough opportunity is given to her, if enough food, nutritious food is given to her, if enough time is given to her, she can prove the society that women is not second to anybody. So that's what they say, that idea of Simone de Beauvoir, one is not born but made. Here women is not born, here women is made as inferior to men because of the patriarchal society. So that is what is discussed in Kate Millet's Theory of Sexual Politics. And let us go to Naina Bay, here Mad Woman and Her Language. Here what we find that how the woman choice of language and all these things, choice of similes, metaphors and all these things are here given in this essay, Mad Woman and Her Language. That's end of unit 2, and let us go to unit 3. Here the three poets, women poets, one from India, one from England, one from Afro-American writer. So our Indian writer Kamala Das, that is her poem Introduction was given there. Introduction, My Grandmother's House and Sunshine Cat, where we find that how women, the treatment of women, what is in what way she is special, and her own inner feelings related to motherhood, related to sex and love, and all these things are discussed here by the famous poet Kamala Das. And here in Sylvia Plath, the famous two poems Mirror and Daddy, where we find the women's feministic elements in that poem. And the last one, Gwendolyn Brooks, who is from the Afro-American writer, and there the Ballad of Pearl Maley, the Negro Hero, the Queen of Blues are the three poems of Gwendolyn Brooks was prescribed, and we are trying to give a feministic interpretation for these things. And let us go to unit 4. It's dealt with drama. Henry Gibson's Doll's House, Lorraine Hansberry's Risen in the Sun, and Carl Churchill's Top Girls are the three dramas which are prescribed in this unit. So Ibsen, a Norwegian dramatist, so from a men writer whose drama A Doll's House, where here we find that how the woman Nora, the heroine of the the main protagonist of this drama, how she was treated as a doll in the hands of her father, in the hands of her husband, and all these things. And then in the end of the drama we find she is going to live for herself. Shofa, she lived for her father and children and husband. Now she decided to live for herself. Just in the 19th century, I think. So it's a new decision taken by Nora in that drama. So that's a feministic study of that novel. That drama has been done. And Lorraine Ann's Risen in the Sun. Here also we find that how the characters, how the discrimination of racial discrimination and gender discriminations are made, and how they fight for how the black people's life depicts a black people life, how these black peoples are discriminated, both gender and racial discriminations, and how they suffer to establish herself, her identity, and all these things. So a beautiful feministic study can be done on this thing, on this drama, Lorraine Hansberry's A Risen in the Sun, and Carl Churchill's Top Girls. So a famous 20th century British dramatist, serial writer, dramatist, and even filmmaker. This her famous drama Top Girls. Here we find that how not only from time immemorial, from ancient time onwards, even today, in order to be successful in the public life, a woman has to sacrifice her personal life. Well, if you sacrifice one, then only you can achieve the other. And here from the old time onwards, from the barbarian time onwards, she, through this Top Girls, she proves that definitely the plight of women is very pathetic. She has to sacrifice one for the other, and she sacrificed her personal life in order to achieve something great in the professional life. So that was very beautifully given in this, and a beautiful feministic study can be done on this drama also. And let us go to the last unit, that is Margaret Atwood's Edible Woman, and Shashi Deshpande's Dark Holds No Terror, and Arundhati Roy's God of Small Things. So here one from Canadian literature, the other two from Indian writing. These two writers, all of them are women writers, and here even in this novel we find how women is treated in a pathetic condition, how they are marginalized, how they suffer, how they suffer in the patriotic society. All these things are very beautifully narrated in all the three novels of these edible women. So whatever may be, wherever women live, definitely all of them suffer a lot. So the feminism dealt with the suffering of women, marginalization of women, how they are discriminated, the discrimination, gender discrimination and all kinds of discriminations are there. And here even in the 20th century, how the women characters suffer. So if you take Sasi Deshpande, Dark Holes No Terror, where the protagonist as a doctor, how she suffers at the hands of her husband Manohar, a male chauvinist. So like that we can try to apply what we have seen in the first two chapters, what is feminism, the development of feminism and the critical canons of feminism that can be applied in the later three units, unit 3, 4, 5, the three different genres of English literature, that is poetry, drama and novel. So by going through this unit, definitely students will enrich or a full understanding of what is feminism and how it is developed and what are the canons of feminism, how they can apply these feministic principles on the literary work of art. So